You're probably just working off like a few screenshots and some notes from the marketing team?
No, we went in, I would go in and the art director would sit down with me and have a guy come from testing and he would play the game, the beta version. And so the beta version would be, you know, it would be pretty close to the game, but in a lot of cases early on it was just a couple of pixels that would make a character, and so we'd have to develop characters and put them on the cover to get the kids to buy the game, you know. And I've never heard anybody feel like they got cheated, you know. I know that everybody loves the art. All this was done fast. We rarely had, you know, more than a couple of days to work on these paintings. You know, I loved doing all of it. It was just fun and exciting. It was very wearing. It would wear you out. I mean, because there were times when I'd have a half a dozen jobs going on all at once. And one set would be in rough stage, one would be in rough color, I'd be working on the finish. I'd only have 3 days, but I'd also have to do a rough for this one, you know. So life got pretty hard. A lot of all-nighters, you know, a lot of late hours, a lot of weekends. Just inevitably, one thing they would do is call me on a Friday. They would all play ping pong and they'd play beta version until then they'd run out of time. They'd think of something and they'd start me on a Friday, and they'd need it like Tuesday. So there goes my weekend. That was life.
How'd you get your start doing artwork for video games?
In '82, actually I went to Art Center and I graduated in LA, and I graduated in '75. And for about until '82, I was just doing freelance. I worked a year in Chicago doing freelance, and then I came to San Francisco and I worked for an agency called Artworks, which was a studio. And I worked there for a couple of years, and I started freelancing on my own. And I was already doing technical cutaway type of stuff for people like Variant and Coherent Technologies and Intel and those kinds of things. And I got my first call from Broderbund, and they had this gaming company they wanted to start, and they called me in, and I don't know where he knew my name. He knew my name from one of the guys in one of the other, you know, big outfits, and called me in and said, "Can you sit down with us and sketch?" And I went over there to this little Quonset hut over in San Rafael and sat down with Doug Carlson and his brother, and he showed me this game, and I started sketching, and that was kind of the beginning of. I did the first 4 games for Broderbund, and wound up just, you know, going on from there. And I started getting calls from everybody there, and so it was pretty crazy for quite a while.
It's all legacy. There's a lot of games here that a lot of people remember fondly. You know,
yeah.
Heavy Barrel, Strider, a lot of great titles.
Yeah. Bad Dudes. I think I'm going to, the next ones, these ones are the ones that I have, I've done remastering of the art. And so I have all this waiting to remaster, and basically what I'm going to be doing probably, I think I'm going to do Bad Dudes next, and then I'm going to go to Strider. And I'm writing down the things that people are asking me. Do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? And
Bad Dudes is definitely one I picked up.
Yeah. So then I'll get into remastering those, and next show, I'll have an assortment of maybe, you know, 20 or 30 for people to choose from. Right now, this is such a limited selection that, you know.
What's your favorite thing you've worked on? What's one that you always like to do?
I'll tell you, I'm a combat veteran. I served a couple of tours in Vietnam, so when I wound up doing Utah Beach and Veliki Luki and like Das Boot and some of these combat ones, you know, I had a grasp for what they needed, and you know, felt kind of at home. And but you know, there really wasn't a game. There's not a game in here that I didn't have fun doing. I mean, because I could do whatever I wanted. You know, they didn't make me do anything specific that I hadn't sketched for them and said, "How about this?" And they would say, "Great, let's do it." And so with that kind of freedom, you know, it's hard not to have fun.
This is definitely a lost art, though. Covers don't have the same artistic vision that they used to.
Yeah, it's been really enjoyable and nice talking to people. But like I said, I haven't talked this much. You know? I was 30 when I started doing this stuff. I was 25 when I got out of school, and I'm 65. You know, now, and
Mark,
I'm still
you're doing good, man.
I'm still freelancing. So you know, and I love what I do. So it's hard not to have a good time. And here's the last thing. This is a kicker. I'm not a gamer. Because my kids play games. You know, they were the gamers, and they still are, just like you guys. You know, and they, you know, they love to play games. And of course, when they were small and I was doing this stuff, that was a big deal, you know, for them. And that was one of the nice things about it.
I mean, this is what sold it for us when we were little. I mean, this is what helped our imagination grasp what was on those little square dots on the screen that looked like nothing.
Well, you know, I have a similar.
What made it, you know, awesome to play was the art.
I have a kind of a similar thing relative to that point, and that is that when I went to Art Center, there was an instructor there. His name is Jack Linwood, probably the best painter I ever met, and he did all of the plastic model kits for Revell. You know, putting together plastic model kits. He did the covers for those. And when I was a kid, I built all those models. And then when I got to Art Center, I met, you know, Jack Linwood was one of my teachers. And so there, you know, I know what you're talking about. This sort of enthusiasm he has as a youngster about something, you know, and it's triggered by these images. You know, it's real important to all of us in every generation.
I mean, there's been Atari games that aren't the greatest games, but I love them because of the art on the cover.
Yeah.
That's what sold it for me.
Yeah. And on the other hand, did you ever feel cheated when you...
No, because the art's what helped my imagination go, this is what it's supposed to look like. We just can't do it.
Yeah, well, that makes me feel great. I feel even better about it. No, that's good to hear. It's nice to hear. I always, in the back of my head, I always worried about, here I'm doing this blast them up thing, and the kids are going to turn the game on, and it's just these little things running around the screen, you know, and I always had that in the back, and it's really nice to hear from you to say, well, there was the art and there was the game. And
that's
it
what
wasn't
got
really...
us to buy it off the shelf, though.
Yeah.
That's the arcade cabinets. That's what drew me to the game. Was just staring at that and then going, well, I might as well play it. I'm here. But the art's always what drew me in arcade or to the game buying it is the cover art.
And some of the arcade stuff, I did some of there was something called, I can't remember it, but it was like a presidential limousine was being attacked and some guy was on the back of a motorcycle with a machine gun, and it was one of the big panels for one of the arcade games. And they printed it as a lighted, you know, they would put the lights behind it. I don't remember, Duratrans. And that was one that I just came across just recently, like a couple of months ago. I was going through my logs and I had seen something on Google Image, and I looked at this little tiny image of this thing, as like 100 pixels across, and I thought, wow, that looks familiar, you know, and I realized it was one that I had done, you know, and it didn't make it to a box. It got used on a Duratrans in the game, you know. So I'm gonna go back over there and see if I see it.
Yeah.
It's great to have all these arcade games here. You know, that's fun.
This is my little daughter, Trinity.
Oh my word! Hey, sweetie, how you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a granddaughter about your. Well, I got a granddaughter about your. I guess. How old are you?
7.
Yes, she's 8, so I was right. So anyway, nice to see you.